Welcome back to M Hood Fishing. In today's video, I want to talk about white bass baits in dirty water. Now, I'm on the Mississippi River. It's just after 8 a.m. in the morning, and it's dirty. So, what do? So as you can see, I have 3 rods down here. Now, the reason why I brought 3 rods down is so I can interchange quickly and have 3 options at the ready. Speaking of 3 options, I want to talk about the 3 ideas you need to keep in your mind when you're putting your box together to go white bass fishing in dirty water. 3 things you need to consider is chartreuse. You see, I've got a bunch of different chartreuse things in here. And then you need to consider flashy things like silver. Some people like gold, but I prefer silver. I find it to work better for white bass in dirty water. And then another thing you need to consider, things that vibrate. This is a lipless crankbait. Now there are other things to consider, and that's size. You need to know how big are the white bass in your area that you're targeting. You need to know what are they eating at this time of year. Now this is a transitional period right now. We're in mid-September, and in mid-September you're still kind of in late summer and you're slowly transitioning into fall. Other parts of the country, like further north, you might be in full swing headed to fall. But here we're still hot. We're going to be at a high of 92 today. Yesterday it was like 96, so it's still pretty much late summer. So these fish might be going after smaller shad still, but soon they're going to be going after bigger shad. So I've only got baits of a certain size down here. Now I do have standbys that are a little bigger, but they're not much bigger than that lipless crankbait. So now that you got my 3 ideas in your mind, let me talk about what I like to do. I like to have small jigs on hand, and I like small chartreuse curly tails. I've got a few different varieties here. This is a 1/16 ounce crappie jig, and I also have road runners. That is like my favorite thing to fish for white bass, is a chartreuse white or black headed road runner. It's got that silver blade on it. Now, different road runners for different reasons, right? Now these are for solid body tubes and solid body baits. See, there's no bait catcher on there, no bait keeper, but these do have a bait keeper. So get the road runners that you need for the baits that you have. I also have down here some chartreuse hair jigs. I bring floats in case I want to keep my bait higher in the column. If I see birds out here feeding, I know that the shad are really close to the surface, and the fish will be too. So sometimes this works best. And you might be in a really snaggy area and you're sick of losing stuff. You won't lose so much if you float jig. So here's an interesting idea. Sometimes a bait with just a bit of chartreuse on the tail is what you need. Now these are pumpkin chartreuse baits by Mr. Crappie. I actually like these. I like to put these on road runners like this, and they also work well with 1/16 ounce jig heads, but they're kind of a big bait for such a small jig, but it works. If it's really dark, like it's nighttime or we have strong overcast, I will choose a chartreuse bait with a darker body, like these avocado chartreuse. But at a time of day like this, I'm more likely to go with something that's all chartreuse. And here I have some crappie tubes, and my favorite, of course, are the curly tails, the chartreuse curly tails. I also have down here some bigger curly tail tubes, or grubs, I'm sorry, to target bigger white bass with. And I use a bigger jig head for these. Not real heavy, but just the right size to get out there. If I use a really heavy jig in this spot, I'm sure to get snagged. Now I have some chartreuse dye that I'm about to show you to make these more chartreuse, because these are like a dingy yellow because they're old. All right, over to the flashy stuff. Now this is a Castmaster spoon. I like this size for this river, but I also use this size. These are lighter, of course. I don't do a leader to a swivel for these. I just tie directly to the line. These wobble a lot and vibrate, and they make a lot of flash in the water and attract white bass pretty good. I got spoons that I always put on a leader to a swivel. And then I absolutely love these. This is a Johnson Weedless Silver Minnow. Love these. Now, I like throwing rattle traps and other things as well. This one has a lot of rattle and a lot of vibration and a lot of flash. Works really well. But this one also catches them. It's more of a low diver surface type bait because it'll go just below the surface. All right, I want to stop talking and I want to start fishing. Here's one of those old yellowy looking curly tails I just showed you. They're pretty old. I haven't fished with this one yet. I hooked it earlier, and as you can see, it's already tearing up and tearing right here where the hook came out. As you can tell, it's really chartreuse now. That's because I dipped it in this. Just wanted to give these a go because I had them, wanted to use them. My father gave me a bunch of these. Oh, there's fish here. So I'm fishing this curly tail on a 14-pound test fluorocarbon leader, and my main line is 20-pound braid. I'm using this bigger curly tail to target bigger fish. I'm gonna give it a go, give it a good go, and then move on to other things, because there are some fish here still, even though it's getting late in the morning. Yep, there we go. There's a fish right there. Oh, he let go. It's probably a gar hitting my tail. Let's check out my tail. Now, the reason why I believe in chartreuse is because chartreuse really shows up good in dirty water, opposed to what most people traditionally use for white bass is white stuff and silver stuff. Well, white isn't going to show up real well in this dirty water. Here we go. There's a fish. Wow. He's really holding down. He's down. Why do you got your head down so much? What is up? What do we got here? It's not fighting like a white bass. Oh! Oh! Look at this! What is up? Ooh, Flatty's like these old tubes. This kid's got garlic flavor on it. That is awesome. I've caught so many flatheads here on lures. It's amazing. All right, buddy. Wow, he's like a couple pounds. That was awesome. Nice. Awesome. I've come down river to a point, fish some other current seams. It's getting a little late in the morning to get white bass. It's got down here a little late. Ooh, I can feel his head. He's drumming like crazy. All right, go back. Oh man, I went and did it. Thought I was filming, then I realized I wasn't. As you can see in my hand here. Oh, Oh, such a good save. So I just caught a white bass, and like the idiot that I can be sometimes, I was not filming, though I thought I was. So what I was doing was just jigging around this big concrete thing here, and I pulled them out from under it. I'm gonna let this one go. Surprise flathead aside, at least I got one white bass, but really I got out here too late. I should have been out here right at pre-dawn, but it didn't happen this morning. At least I got one white bass, and I am very, very pleased with catching the flathead on the artificial. That just keeps happening for me in this stretch of the river here. So like, share, comment, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. I hope you learned something. I hope you have a better idea of what to throw for white bass in dirty water, and I will see you next time.